Hi y'all, welcome back to my shop. Just in time for Valentine's Day, I got this fun little project that's great for a novice or a beginner turner or somebody more experienced that needs to produce something for their sweetie. We're going to turn this into this. So watch and let me show you how to do it. Okay, so we're going to start with a piece of wood somewhere between 1.5 to 1 3/4 inches square and 2.5 inches long. And it needs to be milled. That is, the sides need to be the same. It needs to be square, and it's important that you actually mark the center. Normally I advocate some shortcuts on marking center, but in this case it needs to be very close because it's going to affect the appearance afterwards if this thing is not square and we don't drill right in the middle. So we're going to take this, we're going to secure it where we can drill a 3/4 diameter hole about 1.5 inches deep. Okay, here's the important part. This is going to be more difficult than the turning, and that's you're going to want to mark a line 1 inch from the drilled hole all the way around. And I'm going to use a little square to help do that. For the next step, you want to draw a center line down the middle on each side. So I'm going to measure this. I know it's 1.5, so I'm just going to mark half that distance. Put a mark on each side. This is not rocket science, but you do want to be careful to try to get it fairly accurate because you want your flower petals to look uniform. You can use almost any kind of wood. Heck, it could be green wood. And now we're just going to draw a line down the middle here. Okay, now the next step, you can do this freehand if you like, or you can make a little jig, but we're going to start 1/4 inch from each side, like that. Then we're just going to draw a little bit of a V from where these two lines cross up to there. And we're going to cut this out on the bandsaw here, as you'll see shortly. So we're going to, and I'm just estimating where the 1/4 inch is, like I say. We want to be careful, but we don't want to get crazy about it. Okay, and then that's what we're going to wind up with. Now we're going to cut this on the bandsaw. You know, different bandsaws have different, some of them have tension devices on it. This has a tension device, a lever on the side, so I have this little tension off, red if it hasn't been tensioned, green if it has. So I've got to step over here and make sure this is properly tensioned. That's what we end up with. Now it's time to get ready to turn. And we're going to mount this on this wooden mandrel. I'm not going to show you how to make this. Pretty obvious. Get you a piece of wood, dry or green. Turn it around, put a tenon on it, turn a mandrel that'll fit that 3/4 inch hole. And if necessary, if it's too loose, you can always put just a bit of put a piece of tape on the end here if you need to get it snug. Now the next thing we got to do, we've got this drilled out, but we want to make sure we mark the exact center on the back side for the live tailstock support, because there's liable to be just a little bit of play on this. So in order to get it centered, we want to make sure that we do have a center mark, and then bring up that tailstock. Bring up your tool rest. So your cutting tool is going to be right at center. We can use any number of things. but I think it's easiest to go ahead and start off with a spindle roughing gouge. Make sure we got a little more support. Get the speed up a little bit since you got it secure between centers, and let's just go ahead and round this off. Cut, anchor, bevel, and then lift the handle to control the cut. Okay, we've got it round. Now we want to mark the thickest part of the flower is going to be 1/3 of the distance. So we're going to come back, since this is 2.5 inches, we're going to come back, I say 1/3. Let's make it about an inch. So, that's the thickest part of the flower, so we're going to taper down from here and taper down from here. I'm going to switch now to a 1/2 inch spindle gouge. You could use a small bowl gouge if you like, maybe a 3/8 inch bowl gouge. You could use a 3/8 inch spindle gouge. They'll all work fine. And now we're just going to start a taper and round the bottom of the flower. And let me show you where we're heading with this. So we're making this rounded end, and then we're tapering in the flower from the thickest part. Anchor the tool. Here's the bevel. Ride the bevel. Lift the handle until you see it cutting, and then we're turning a big bead. So we're going to lift, roll, and swing. Lift, roll, and swing. The swing is a real important part here to get this rounded edge. So bring the cut around a little bit more. Swing that handle out. Okay, now we're going to come in the other direction. Again, we're going to just bring it on down. Nice, gentle, rounded taper to the point. Now, you're going to hear just a little bit of chatter because of the air we're turning, so go slow and let the tool do the work. Anchor, bevel, lift the handle to cut. And you can see as we bring this down, it actually puts points on the petals where we really had flats here when we first drew our design. Now we're going to go ahead and sand this with a tailstock support. I'll do that off camera. Then we're going to remove the tailstock support, and we're going to sand a little bit on the end. Let me show you how I sand. I just use a strip of sandpaper, keep it moving. Keep it moving. And then I want to show you to sand the end, just kind of fold it over and press up against it, and it'll give it enough friction for you to sand the very end. I'm going to drill a hole in the bottom for the stem to go in. I'm going to do this on the lathe just because it's convenient, and I know I'm going to be using a 1/8 inch, and I'll show you why in just a moment. But you could do this off the lathe with a electric drill. So we're going to turn this down a little bit. Find that spot and just slowly get the speed up a little bit here. We're going to go in about 3/4 inch. I don't want to go all the way through and meet the hole. That way glue will hold the stem in there real well without it coming through. Okay, let me just cover a few quick tips. If you didn't want to drill on the lathe, certainly you can come back and use a hand drill. You've already got a mark there from the live center, so it's not that difficult to drill it. The other thing I want to show you, you're generally going to have some rough edges here on the inside of the pedals that need sanding. The quick tip that I found, cut you some thin slats of wood on your table saw or your bandsaw, put a little spray adhesive on it, put glue, and put some adhesive or some abrasive on each side. I've got some 150 on one side, 220 on the other, and that just makes it just a whole heck of a lot easier to get those rough edges like this. Much easier than just using a piece of sandpaper alone, so that tip's worth the price of admission. For the stems, you could use little dowels, but I find the cheapest and easiest thing, certainly the cheapest, is to at the dollar store or Wally World, get you some bamboo skewers. They come in different sizes. The ones I like are right at 1/8 of an inch. That's why I was able to use a 1/8 of an inch drill. Because I still had some green alcohol stain left over from my Russian chess set, I just wiped on a little stain on the stem to green to add a little bit. I haven't decided whether I'm going to dye the flowers or not. I may or may not. Your choice. You could use different color wood, Bozark, or you could dry it, and if you've got some coloration or some spalting or something like that, it just gives a nice little variation. Use a little carpenter's glue to glue that in. You want to make sure you got a pretty good joint there. That is, match the drill hole closely with the stem size. There's a lot of variation in these bamboo skewers, so keep playing until you find the ones that fit. You're going to go ahead and cut them off, appropriate size for whatever little bud vase you're going to turn or make. This was a hollow form where I actually went through the bottom, so I plugged it and decided to make a little vase out of it. The other little tip is get some more thin pieces of wood. Bring the edges down real sharp on a belt sander, and you can put a few petals or green leaves to go in. Just adds a little bit of dimension. I used a wood cutting knife and cut some little slits in it, or little to add just a little bit of realism to it. Here's a little variation of the flower where the petals don't come to a point like the others. They flatten a little bit, and also the side of the flower on the outside is tapered just a little bit and tapered in, and the stem, actually the hole was drilled all the way through so the stem could protrude, and then with a sharp knife you kind of shred the end a little bit. So that's just another little variation. Well, I hope you enjoyed this project, and I hope your spouse or significant other enjoys what you've turned as much as I hope my wife will for Valentine's Day. The inspiration for this project came from an article by Stephen Reed 17 years ago in the American Association of Woodturners journal, the American Woodturner. A great benefit of belonging to the American Association of Woodturners, you get digital access to 30 years of great material like this. As always, I hope if you like this video, click on the like button. If you're not a subscriber, I hope you'll consider subscribing by clicking on the subscribe button. Safe turning.